Don't forget to like, subscribe, and support the channel financially. We want to reach 3,000 likes and 300 comments. Then a call came from Heavenly Demon. Ryu answered, "Yes, Mr. President." Heavenly Demon asked, "Prophet, do you have time?" Ryu inquired. "Now?" he replied. "Yes, I have something to give you." Ryu inquired. "Something?" Heavenly Demon said. "I've been collecting items for you, Prophet." Ryu inquired. "Items? Ah, did you extort them from criminals before killing them?" He replied. "Of course. It would be a waste to just kill them without taking the items." It turns out Heavenly Demon was doing the same thing as Ryu. He added, "I've collected a lot of useful items, so you can come and choose." Ryu said, "Ah, thank you. You could have kept them all for yourself. But to save some for me," he said, "we keep receiving invaluable information from you. It's only natural to have some give and take." Heavenly Demon spoke kindly, but Ryu knew there was another meaning behind it. And Ryu said to himself, "He wants to keep me tied to him materially to continue receiving information about the next round. It's almost like a bribe." Anyway, it worked out as Ryu had been in need of materials to make unique items. And considering how many Heavenly Demon had killed, there should be enough materials. Then Ryu inquired, "Where is it? I'll come right now." Heavenly Demon waited in a hotel room, sipping whiskey with the night view as his companion, and he glanced at the floor, covered with items extorted over the fortnight, and said, "The Prophet would be surprised, wouldn't he? Or maybe he already knows through prophecy." He wasn't too surprised during the call, so it's likely he already knew. But does he also know I plan to give him all the items? Though Heavenly Demon said to come and choose, he planned to give everything if the Prophet wanted. That way, he could continue extracting information in the next rounds and beyond. Then Heavenly Demon smirked, unaware that he was actually the one being played by Ryu. After some time, someone knocked the door. Heavenly Demon inquired, "Who is it?" He replied, "It's me." Hearing Ryu's voice, Heavenly Demon hurriedly welcomed him. "Welcome, Prophet," Ryu said. "Calling me to a hotel room at night, people might misunderstand." Heavenly Demon laughed and said, "What a joke. Please, this way." While he laughed, his lips twitched slightly, and he said to himself, "He's grown a lot, hasn't he? And if it weren't for the prophecies, he would be a nobody." His combat ability seemed negligible. Even he himself admitted he couldn't win against me in a fight. But how does the Prophet fight anyway? Just barely surviving based on future information. Heavenly Demon hadn't considered this before, and he said, "Prophet, a sudden question. How do you fight?" Ryu, who had been reading his mind, responded cheerfully without a hint of panic, and said, "It's a secret." He inquired, "A secret?" Ryu replied, "I need to have at least one secret. If I spill everything, how will I make a living?" He smiled and said, "Ah, you make a good point." In fact, he hadn't expected him not to answer, and he said to himself, "Even if his combat ability is as such, I shouldn't underestimate his cunning nature." Then he showed him the items. Ryu inquired, "Is this from the criminals you extorted?" He smiled and said, "Yes, quite a lot, right?" Though Heavenly Demon smiled, he was unaware that Ryu had also extorted quite a collection. He added, "Choose anything you need from here. You can have it all, regardless of the number." Ryu confidently selected items, primarily unique material items. Heavenly Demon inquired, "What do you plan to use these for?" Ryu replied, "Mr. Ma, haven't I mentioned before? Seeing prophecies, I come across various information." He said, "Yes, but what does that have to—" Instead of answering, Ryu demonstrated, and he opened the crafting window and placed the unique materials on it, pressing the combine button with expert-level armor as the main ingredient, and with a flash, the materials disappeared along with the light, and a splendid item was born. Heavenly Demon's eyes widened in astonishment, and he inquired, What is this?" Ryu said, "It's a gift." Upon receiving the armor and checking its options, Heavenly Demon was shocked and said, "Expert to unique grade?" In fact, the best equipment Heavenly Demon currently had was merely a regular epic grade bought from the store. But options that were a level above what he had were now right before his eyes. Then Heavenly Demon's pupils darted around and inquired, "How did you make this?" Ryu replied, "I told you earlier. I inadvertently come across various pieces of information." He asked, "Did you see a unique crafting method in the future?" Nodding his head, a sigh escaped from Heavenly Demon's lips, and he said to himself, "I didn't expect this, to even know the crafting method." With this, the value of a prophet had risen a notch higher. It was also clear that he had to maintain a close relationship with Ryu by any means necessary. Then he inquired, Prophet, are you really giving this to me?" Ryu said, "Yes, since Mr. Ma thought of me and gave me an item, I should at least repay the favor. Also, I made this so you can quickly reach level 40 and wear it. And while I was at it, I also made one for your fiancé." He inquired, For Christine, too. Ryu said, please deliver it to her yourself. He said, oh, thank you. Really. Heavenly Demon couldn't take his eyes off the unique armor. He really liked it. Then Ryu asked, can I take the rest of the materials? I have a use for them. Heavenly Demon replied, of course, you can have all of them. If there's anything you don't need, just leave it. I'll sell it in the market and send you the money. Ryu smiled and said, you don't have to go that far, but thank you. He asked, would you like a glass of whiskey? Ryu replied, no, thank you. I don't drink alcohol. I'll be heading home. Heavenly Demon looked regretfully and said, oh, is that so? Should I ask Manager Ann to escort you if you didn't bring a car? Ryu said, that's kind of you, but I brought my car. He said, ah, okay. Then I'll see you next time. After Ryu left, Heavenly Demon smacked his lips. He thought he found a drinking buddy. Leaving him alone felt a bit disappointed. Ryu, having crafted unique items with the materials received from Heavenly Demon, went to find Minjuri. Then he said to her, take this. She inquired, huh? What's this? Ryu replied, I made it for you to wear. After taking one look at Ryu, Minjuri checked the item's information and her pupils dilated, and she inquired, This is unique? Ryu explained as he did to Heavenly Demon. Mentioning a prophecy seems to make everything okay. Minjuri seemed moved, but then she shook her head suddenly and said, I can't accept it. You should use it. Ryu said, I don't need this item. I've already made mine. She said, but I can't accept it. I owe you too much, and you help me every round. How could I possibly take this without feeling ashamed? Ryu added, I've received a lot of help from you too. In fact, Minjuri's buffs had greatly assisted Ryu Min in breaking records, and she had already made up for it, but he couldn't reveal that fact to Minjuri. How could he say now that he was the Black Scythe? Ryu said to her, still, take it. She said, no, I can't. Seeing her firm stance, Ryu had no choice but to use a strong argument, and he said, then let's do this. Consider it a debt. You can pay it back when you've grown more. That works, right? With that argument, Minjuri had no choice but to waver. Ryu added, you can pay it back later. To me, it's an item with no immediate use. She sighed and said, if you insist that much, all right. I'll borrow it gratefully. But just so you know, I will repay this debt several times over in the future. Ryu said, good. Pay me back big time later. After distributing unique items to his companions, Ryu returned home. His brother said, Hyung, if you haven't eaten dinner yet, want to eat together? Ryu said, eat first. I'll eat later. Ryu Wan tilted his head as he watched his brother skip dinner and enter his room. And he said to himself, what's going on? Ryu Min entered his room and flopped down on the bed. Now was not the time to leisurely eat. Rather, it was time to decide on the next steps, and he said to himself, the overhaul of Player Haven will be finished this month, transforming from a criminal force into a normal player group. However, the problem was society's perception, and the current view of players by the citizens is like a ticking time bomb, ready to explode at any moment. And if this perception isn't changed, it will become an obstacle to correcting the declining society. Ryu added, that can't happen. My goal is to make Black Scythe a powerful entity at the level of a head of state. In reality, the name value of the Black Scythe in the living world is not as big as in the other world. Although it is well known among players for always being at the top of the rankings, to ordinary people it's virtually unknown. Ryu said the name Black Scythe must have influence in the real world as well. Only then can I unify and control the players with just a word, and controlling the rebel players can make the world less ruined. Ryu added, to achieve this, it's necessary to wield substantial power both in the other world and in reality. And what's needed is Congressman Lee Seong-hyun's act, an act for forming a major player organization to summarily execute criminal players. Although the legislation has already passed, it will take time to implement. Then Ryu got up from the bed and said, we need to shorten that time. And he immediately picked up his phone and made a call. Hey, Yumty, I have an order for you. There's someone you need to seduce for me. And it's a big fish. If a person of high power could be controlled, like the police chief, that would do. After giving orders to Yamti to track the police chief's movements, the call was ended. Then Ryu said to himself, Yamti's second slot will be now occupied by the police chief. The first is Song Jae-gyeom, the eldest son of the LC group. Since he is the chairman of Player Haven, he cannot be eliminated. And with the police chief being second, only 3 slots remain. Ryu added, it's better to save the slots just in case. And And the reason Ryu hasn't dominated the people around him is this. There aren't enough slots to accommodate them, and there's no actual need to dominate them, as they are practically his people already. Then Ryu smiled and said, "There's also something that I need to ask Congressman Lee Sung-hyun to do, but there's no need to dominate him. I've already made a good first impression, and what's stronger and better than saving someone's life?" After organizing his thoughts, Ryu grabbed his coat. Since it came up, he decided to visit Congressman Lee Sung-hyun, as his cooperation is needed for the establishment of the unit.